So hello. Last time I tried to give you guys an update on how we were doing with the brace in February. It really didn't go very well, as I didn't even have the chance to edit and post the video that I received news from Italy. So let's give this a shot. Let's cook together something in the meantime while we're talking. I'm gonna make a focaccia di Valais. Cooking focaccia di Valais right now is a great comfort for me, and I have lots of things to tell you guys. First of all, I want to tell you how it's going with the brace. Second of all, I want to give you guys a very rapid update on February, which wasn't the best month of the year, I can already say. And I wanted also to mention a project we had. I did mention it once, about Boston, and I have updates on that as well. So first of all, brace. How is Bibi coping with the brace? She's fantastic. We already know that. At the beginning she was very upset. She couldn't walk with that brace, crawl, or change from a sitting position to crawling, and vice versa. Took her one day and a half, and then back on her feet. She was just, she's so determined. Beatrice has a goal. She sees it very clear in front of her, and nothing will stop her from achieving her goal. I just love that about her. It took me a longer time to cope with it and adjust my life to this brace, but you do it, right? I want to post a video specific on the pros and cons, on my tips and functionalities of the swash brace, because I'm thinking there's really little information about that brace, but maybe it can help other families. So wait for that. A video specific on the brace is coming. February. Horrible. I spent 1 week in Italy to say goodbye to my dad, and I'll be very dark for 5 seconds. It's been very interesting to see, because I saw both of my parents take the last breath, pass away. It's been interesting to see what 20 years mean, because I reacted very differently from when my mom passed away and I was 20. And now, after Bibi's journey, I don't want to get into very dark thoughts. If you guys are interested in knowing how it has been different, I can talk about it, no problem. But let's move on. It was also tricky because while I was landing back in Sydney from Italy, Minie had to catch a flight for Perth for work, and that was unfortunately a trip he could not cancel. So basically we didn't see each other for 2 weeks. It's been a little bit stressful for Bibi because she didn't know what was happening, and she was also teething, drooling a lot. She still has a little bit of runny nose, but February is over and we need to move on, right? Boston. I have my notes here so I don't forget anything while the focaccia are growing and becoming amazing. What happened with Boston? Let's go back a couple of steps. What was happening is that the Kabuki Syndrome Foundation is funding this research on Kabuki, on the population, hopefully to understand better, to collect more data about the syndrome, but potentially in the future to possibly create a genetic therapy. We entered the clinical trial, we had a couple of Zoom meetings, everything was amazing, but you have to go there in person to get the tests that they require done in person. And there were 4 different hospitals available, 3 of which were in US and 1 in Toronto. And initially we did set as our preference Boston. So we booked the appointment. We even booked a private consultation with the doctor head of the research, Dr. Bodamer, who, for my understanding, is one of the major experts in Kabuki syndrome. The hope was that we could help increase the knowledge on this syndrome so that we could have more data and more answers for future generations, of course. But also, selfishly, the main goal for us was to try and get this private visit, this 60 minutes visit with this doctor, and try to have a crystal ball on what could be the future of Beatrice. Because in my mind, if a doctor sees Kabuki people every single day, if he sees people experiencing with different stages of this syndrome and who are on the spectrum of this syndrome on different points, he could probably visit Bibi and say and tell us, I'm seeing that she will likely develop this issue. I see that if she has not developed this issue until now, forget about that. That's not something you have to worry about. She is the hope was to get this doctor tell us on the spectrum of the syndrome, she's sitting here. Of course, that was just a hope. Of course, hoping for a crystal ball is not exactly scientific, but it is reasonable to think that someone, a doctor who's so experienced in a particular topic, in a particular syndrome, would have lots of useful insights on what we could reasonably expect or we would likely experience in the near future. Anyway, in these days, we decided not to go and we cancelled our participation in the research. And I'm very sad and I'm feeling very guilty, and I can't help worrying that I'm not helping Beatrice in this, but I have my reasons, which I'm going to share. First of all, this trip to Boston would have been very, very expensive. It would have costed us around 10,000 Australian dollars. So it would have been an investment for us. It would have been incredibly tiring because it's almost on the other side of the world. We would have taken 2 long flights, changing possibly in Los Angeles or Dallas. But it would have been very tiring for Bibi and very stressful with the tests. But the main reason actually is what happened to me in Italy. Basically, while I was trying to come back from Italy to Sydney, my flight from Malpensa, Milan, got delayed by many hours. And later on, I found out that it was because a hacker didn't really like the comment of the Italian President of the Republic on the situation between Russia and Ukraine. Now, I promised myself I will never, ever, ever talk about politics on this channel. And so today I will not talk about politics. But what we can reasonably say is that the international political landscape is evolving very quickly, right? We can say that. We can say that many countries are taking very clear, sometimes controversial sides. Anyway, we have no guarantee that a similar thing would not happen to us traveling overseas as a family. And it is true that if they told me, look, come in this country because we have a genetic therapy for your daughter, which will guarantee 100% that she will never, ever, ever develop epilepsy nor seizures. You do this therapy, you have 100% guarantee that that's gonna be a tick you can have on the future. She will not develop seizures. I do not have guarantees for this trip. The what ifs started playing in my mind, and I know that if we were still planning to go from now until May, I would have worried every single day. I would have checked the news 1,000 times per day to understand what's happening on the international landscape. Right now, our family does not need this big chunk of stress on top of what we have right now. I am feeling a little bit guilty, but I also know that I'm very hopeful. I trust that in the future we will have other opportunities to give our contribution to research and knowledge, that we will have visits with very expert doctors. But it is true that I trust the medical team we have here in Australia. I am very happy with how Bibi is progressing. I trust that here in Australia at the moment, for her situation, we have all the answers that we need. We will have to see what happens in the future. Just wait and see. Wait and see. Be patient. I also trust that things go as they're supposed to. Nothing happens with no reason. So let's cook some focaccia, shall we?